On January 16, 2020, I went to the fan screening event for Tenki no Ko, or Weathering with You, the latest anime film from director Makoto Shinkai, who's best known for his 2006 hit movie Kimi no Nawa, better known as Your Name. The question I had when I went to watch Weathering with You, and the question I am sure a lot of people also had, is whether or not Makoto Shinkai could hit another home run, whether or not Weathering with You could surpass Your Name or perhaps equal it. Now, I am still kind of debating the answer to that question, but regardless of the answer, there is no doubt that Wuthering with You is a fantastic movie. And in this review, I want to tell you what makes Wuthering with You so good. Keep in mind that as part of the fan screening event, there was an exclusive interview with Makoto Shinkai at the end of the movie, from which I learned a lot of interesting things. I will share a few of those as we go along to enhance the aspects of the movie that I speak about. And finally, keep in mind that I will keep this review spoiler free as I always do with all of my anime reviews. With all that out of the way, we can finally begin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my review of Weathering with You. The story of Weathering with You centers around high school student Hodaka, who lived on an island until one day he had enough of that life. He felt that life in the island living with his parents was suffocating, and so he decides to take a boat to Tokyo where he hopes to start a new life. However, he soon finds that living alone in the big city is not as easy as he thought. He struggles to sustain himself as he doesn't have a job, and no one would hire a high school student even part time. He eventually finds a job at a small publisher owned by Keisuke Suga, whom he met on the boat. It's worth noting that the weather in Tokyo was off the charts. Every day it was constant downpours and storms. A rumor was going around about girls that had special powers allowing them to control the weather, the power to call forth both sunshine and storms. Hodaka investigates this rumor as part of his publishing work. One day, Hodaka meets Hina, a girl that, like him, was desperately struggling to make a living. They meet at a McDonald's where Hina works part time. Hodaka later sees Hina walking around with shady men and he decides to save her from them. After this, Hodaka learns that Hina is one of the rumored special girls that can call forth sunshine. Hodaka plans to use this power to make a profit. Hina would call forth the sun for people that needed it in exchange for money, and so they start working together. So much like with Your Name, Weathering with You is a classic story of boy meets girl, but Weathering with You differs greatly from Your Name in its narrative. Your Name is a more personal story. It's about the characters' inner conflict, about their personal desires. Weathering with You, on the other hand, is about the characters' external conflict. Hodaka and Hina are both trying to find their purpose in the world. They are both trying to make it in a society that is not making life easy for them. Hodaka goes to Tokyo hoping to be free, but he soon finds that he is still very much bound by the rules of society. Makoto Shinkai himself mentions that Weathering with You is about Hodaka versus society, and he mentions in his interview that young people today live a risky life because a small misstep could lead to them getting shunned on social media and in person by dozens of people. It's this idea that underpins the themes of Weathering with You. Also, the characters in Your Name are brought together because of a unique circumstance, one that binds their fates together. The characters in Weathering with You are brought together because of a common enemy in society and because of the common objective of finding their purpose. I really liked the story of Weathering with You. It was fun, it was enjoyable, and it was saying something about the society we have today. Something I am sure that a lot of us can relate to. Everyone is bound by the rules, the people around us, the expectations they have of us, the things we must do to get by. These things affect us. They affect the things we do, the things we say, and the way we live our lives. Weathering with You deals with these subjects beautifully. The weather plays a big role in the story. Makoto Shinkai has always liked to use weather in his movie, particularly rain. He said that he liked using rain because it sets the atmosphere, it enhances the emotion. This is certainly still a thing in Weathering with You, but there's more to it here than that. Makoto Shinkai talks about global warming and that it is very much a concern. The weather is changing, and that while it can be beautiful at times, it can also be destructive. It can hinder life. This is what gave him the idea to make the weather so prevalent. In a way, the weather becomes like another character, one that adds to the narrative, that the things around us can bog us down and shape us. It is mentioned in the movie that good, sunny weather will give us the energy to get up in the morning, and that bad, rainy weather will drain us of any energy we might have to get up and be productive. So Hina's job as a sunshine girl not only gives her purpose, but by doing this job, she gives purpose to others. She gives them the strength to live through another day. Hina literally shines a light on their lives, and she gives them back their happiness. Weathering with You has a fantastic story, and I certainly thought about its lessons and its meaning more than I did with Your Name, though that might be because I am writing a review for it, so I must analyze it more. Regardless, there is no doubt that with Weathering with You, Makoto Shinkai has crafted a compelling and thought provoking story with a divisive ending. Your Name's ending was also divisive, but it was more a matter of whether you liked it or not. Weathering with You's ending is divisive because it's about whether it is the right choice or not. It is the final piece of the puzzle that elevates the whole movie's narrative and meaning to new heights. The totem that finalizes the film's vision, a moment that symbolizes the whole story. I think that the characters in Weathering with You are great. Hodaka has that starry eyed optimism at first, the kind that you would expect from someone young that is trying to find their way in life when they really haven't experienced anything and are still innocent and naive. His optimism is soon broken when he realizes the bitter truth of reality. But he springs back up once he finds his job and then more so when he meets Hina. Hodaka remains relatable all throughout the movie. He is the vessel for the narrative of the individual versus society after all. Hina is smart, very mature for her age, and she teases Hodaka constantly. Like Hodaka, she also displays a will to succeed, to find her way, but she does so in a way that is different from Hodaka, in a way that shows that she has been through a lot. The two of them are great main characters. They are fun, relatable, and you end up rooting for them. And then we have Keisuke, the man Hodaka met on the boat, and the man that gave Hodaka his job as a publisher, and Natsuki, who also works with Keisuke. The two of them are initially the irresponsible adult characters that love to drink, that need people to pick up after them, etc. But eventually, we see that they also have their struggles. Behind their boisterous smiles lie demons that they grapple with daily, and they end up becoming like mirror images of Hodaka and Hina, like we are seeing two sides of the same coin, youth and adulthood, both desperately fighting to live their lives. Weathering with You is mostly about the struggles of youth, but it also portrays that it doesn't stop just because you grow up. It shows that it might even get worse at times. And finally, we also have Hina's little brother, Nagi, who is responsible for about 85% of the laughs in this movie, because despite being so young, the kid has some mad game with the ladies, and because he is in many ways more mature than Hodaka, which means Nagi can provide some very needed advice at times. There is also a special character moment, or two I should say, that I won't spoil for you, ones that require you to pay close attention. It was quite a treat, and Makoto Shinkai mentions in his interview that anyone that caught it must be some otaku, which gave me a good laugh. Now, I don't really judge voice acting very much because I think that voice actors always do a great job, and that is certainly the case here as well. But I do want to mention something Makoto Shinkai mentioned in his interview regarding the voice actors. He said that he wanted actors that fit the role. He was not interested in getting high profile, popular voice actors. They got thousands of auditions via tape, then they called in those that did great for in person auditions. Ultimately, the voice actors chosen for Hodaka and Hina were the ones that best fit the role. Makoto Shinkai said that he wanted to entrust this vision to the young. I was very surprised when I checked the actors and found out that this was actually their first voice acting role in an anime, and that they are both young. Younger than me. They were born in the year 2000 and 2001. Young and inexperienced makes them the perfect fit for the roles, and I think they did a fantastic job, especially considering that it was their first time voicing an anime character. And I really respect Makoto Shinkai for not compromising on his vision and for giving two new voices a chance to shine. Weathering with You will certainly give a good starting push to their careers. This leads to an interesting contrast because Kana Hanazawa voices a minor character, Kana Hanazawa being, of course, a very popular and well known voice actress. She's my absolute favorite voice actress, and it's always a joy for me to hear her voice. It's worth noting that she also voiced Yukari Yukino in The Garden of Worlds, so she has worked with Makoto Shinkai in the past. And then we have the music. I counted at least 6 insert songs throughout the movie, and they were all great, especially the last 3 that played during key scenes and the finale. Makoto Shinkai said that once he had the initial screenplay for Weathering with You, he sent it to Yujiro Noda, lead vocalist and guitarist of the band Radwimps, who also produced music for Your Name. Initially, Makoto Shinkai had no intention to ask them to make the music for Weathering with You, but upon reading his screenplay, they sent in music they made using the script as inspiration, and Makoto Shinkai liked the music so much that he realized he had something special in his hands, and he decided to commit to his new screenplay. So, he continued to work on it and he asked Radwimps to make more music for Weathering with You. I love it when music is made for an anime. Music is meant to enhance the moment on screen, and it's a lot more effective when the music and lyrics match with the scene in question. Visually, Weathering with You is beautifully animated and honestly breathtaking at times. The constant rain is partly to blame for this. Personally, I love rain and I always have. As a kid, if it was raining, I would go outside to play and I had a great time, even if I did get sick afterwards. So I love any scenes of movies, games, or anime where it rains. Since it's almost always raining in Weathering with You, I was mesmerized in many scenes as I looked at the gorgeous rainfall. As I stated before, Makoto Shinkai has always liked to use weather, especially rain, in his movies. And in his interview, he mentioned that while the rain is beautiful and he likes to use it in his movies, rain also makes things harder because it takes longer to animate. For one, they have to animate the rain itself. Rain leaves puddles on the ground, which means that when characters walk by, they will have a reflection, so they have to draw the reflections. Rain means drawing umbrellas, and if those umbrellas are transparent, then they also have to draw the background behind the umbrella that would be visible through it. And they have to draw the individual raindrops on the umbrella. He also mentions a scene with Hodaka where rain falls directly on his face. In cases like that, they have to draw the individual raindrops on the character's face. All of this made me gain a new appreciation for any scenes with heavy rainfall because it takes a lot of work to create them. I never thought about it so deeply that animating rain could pose such a challenge, but I am glad they took the challenge because it means we get such a beautiful movie in exchange. Even without the rain, Weathering with You is gorgeous. The scenes where the sun cuts through the darkness are jaw dropping. And there are scenes with fast movement that are exhilarating because they look amazing and the camera follows the action perfectly. Weathering with You is just a visual treat, especially in theaters. Overall, Weathering with You is just amazing. It's beautifully animated, it has fantastic, relatable characters, gorgeous music, it has a great story that teaches us some very important lessons. In its entirety, it speaks about several realities that we all face in our lives. It was a very enjoyable, thought provoking, and technically impressive journey. Going back to the question I mentioned in the beginning, can Weathering with You surpass Your Name? I did not have an answer at first, and even now, after going through this review, I can't really decide. But what I do know for sure is this: if Weathering with You can't fully surpass Your Name's greatness, then it can certainly at least reach the same lofty heights. Makoto Shinkai and his team have managed to produce another amazing powerhouse of an anime movie that is worthy of the legacy of Your Name. In his interview, Makoto Shinkai talks about what inspired him to make Your Name in the first place. The belief back then was that anime movies were not profitable. The only ones that could create anime movies that were good, profitable, and successful was Studio Ghibli. Makoto Shinkai wanted to prove that this was false. This drove him to create Your Name. And he obviously succeeded in proving his point since Your Name became a worldwide phenomenon. Because Your Name was so successful, he decided that he wanted to keep creating movies that people around the world could enjoy. This served as the catalyst for Weathering with You, since he started writing the screenplay for it just a year after Your Name. And, once again, he succeeds. I can't praise Weathering with You enough, and I can't congratulate Makoto Shinkai and his team enough for producing this masterpiece. If you have not seen Weathering with You yet, and you have showings in a theater near you, then I would highly encourage you to go watch it, because you definitely don't want to miss this monumental triumph in anime movie history. I hope you enjoyed my review of Weathering with You. Thank you very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.